Kathy Odom was a resident of Houston, Texas. She was a dedicated mother to 2 children, a 4-year-old daughter named Tasha and a 2-month-old son named Sean. Kathy's life was deeply rooted in her family, and she was known to be protective and caring towards her children. Living in a suburban neighborhood, Kathy and her family were familiar figures among their community members. Kathy and Michael Odom, both having met at the age of 16, shared a tumultuous past marked by drug involvement. Their early years together saw them entangled in various drug-related incidents. In 1977, at the age of 20, the couple faced legal repercussions when Michael was arrested for selling heroin to an undercover officer. He was subsequently charged with possession with intent to deliver. Although he received a 6-year prison sentence, he served only 2 years. Kathy, on the other hand, seems to have avoided charges during this incident. By 1983, Michael faced another arrest, this time for driving under the influence of drugs, which led to a police chase ending in a crash into a police roadblock. However, by the year 1987, the couple had made significant efforts to distance themselves from their past, focusing on providing a stable environment for their children. Their commitment to change was evident in their improved lifestyle and dedication to their family. In contrast to the Odom's transformation, Kathy's sister, Shelley Martin, struggled with her own set of challenges. Shelley's relationship with Gregory Markwood, introduced to her by Michael, was marked by drug abuse and criminal activities. Gregory, previously married to Michael's sister Fran, had a history of drug involvement, which Shelley became a part of after meeting him. Their relationship was a source of concern for the family, especially given Gregory's influence on Shelley's descent into drug addiction. On the fateful night of March 3, 1987, Michael Odom was away from home due to work commitments. As the hours passed, he grew increasingly concerned when he couldn't establish contact with Kathy. Worried for the safety of his family, Michael reached out to a neighbor, requesting them to check on Kathy and the children. Upon arriving at the Odom residence, the neighbor encountered an unsettling scene. The house was eerily quiet, with the only illumination coming from the glow of the television. The front door was unlocked, an unusual occurrence for the safety-conscious family. Inside the house, a horrifying discovery awaited. Kathy Odom's lifeless body was found in her bedroom. The extent of violence inflicted upon her was evident. She had been brutally attacked, suffering multiple stab wounds, over 16 in total. In addition to the stab wounds, Kathy had been strangled, sexually assaulted, and her wrists were tightly bound with the cord of a lamp. In the living area, their 4-year-old daughter Tasha lay motionless on the couch. Initially presumed dead, a faint gasp from Tasha revealed she was still alive, albeit in a critical condition. The youngest member of the family, 2-month-old Sean, was unharmed. In the wake of the brutal crime, law enforcement was immediately called to the scene. The nature of the attack on Kathy indicated a personal motive, leading investigators to delve into the family's background and acquaintances. Gregory Markwood, due to his frequent and unannounced visits to the Odom residence and Kathy's evident discomfort around him, quickly emerged as a person of interest. Kathy had confided in a friend about an unsettling incident where Greg had made unwanted advances towards her in the absence of his wife, Shelley. This revelation, coupled with the Odom family's reservations about Greg, placed him under the investigative spotlight. However, establishing concrete evidence against Greg proved challenging. He provided an alibi for the night of the murder, claiming he was with Hampton Robinson III, a known associate. Initial DNA tests conducted on the semen samples retrieved from the crime scene were inconclusive, neither confirming nor ruling out Greg as the perpetrator. While the immediate aftermath of the crime saw investigators exploring various leads, one theory that gained traction was the possibility of the murder being linked to the Odom's past drug involvement. However, Given the couple's efforts to reform and distance themselves from their previous lifestyle, this theory had its limitations. Greg Markwood's behavior post the crime, including his refusal to take a polygraph test and his abrupt departure during an interview with law enforcement, further raised suspicions. His claim of having an affair with Kathy was met with skepticism, especially since no one in the family or their circle of friends corroborated this claim. The breakthrough in the case came over a decade later. In 1998, a cold case squad revisited Kathy Odom's case. Their renewed efforts led to the discovery of DNA evidence on the lamp cord used to bind Kathy. This evidence was pivotal in linking Greg to the crime scene. In December 2002, after years of persistent investigation and the emergence of new DNA evidence, Gregory Markwood was arrested and formally charged with the murder of Kathy Odom. His subsequent trial brought to light the depth of his involvement and the brutality of the crime he had committed. Greg's wealthy aunt passed away during this period, leaving him a significant inheritance. However, the Martin family, still grieving the loss of Kathy, filed a wrongful death suit against Greg. This legal move effectively tied up the estate, preventing Greg from accessing these funds for his defense. The trial concluded with Greg Markwood's conviction. Although the exact details of his sentence remain unclear from the sources, it is evident that justice was served. Gregory Markwood's life came to an end in prison on June 29, 2008, at the age of 55. Throughout the years, the dynamics of relationships within the family shifted. Shelley, once a staunch supporter of Greg, seemed to have distanced herself, moving closer to her parents in Oklahoma. However, at the time of Greg's death, she was still referred to as his longtime friend and life partner. The tragic case of Kathy Odom serves as a stark reminder of the unpredictability of human actions and the enduring quest for justice, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. Craig Williamson, at the age of 46, embarked on a new chapter of his life when he married Christine Reinhardt. Their wedding took place at the picturesque Lake Tahoe on October 7, 1990. Despite having known each other for a mere month, the connection between the two was undeniable, and they were confident in their decision to spend their lives together. With aspirations of tapping into the profitable realm of fish farming, Craig and Christine decided to invest in this venture. They identified a suitable farm located in Wisconsin, which was Christine's home state, and made the purchase. Their shared dream was to cultivate and sell fish, capitalizing on the growing demand for aquaculture products. In late August 1993, business commitments beckoned Craig to Colorado Springs. Specifically, on August 28th, he embarked on a trip with the primary objective of selling fish. This wasn't just any ordinary trip for Christine, Craig's wife. She harbored deep concerns about him driving such a distance, especially given a recent incident where Craig had suffered a concussion. Her worries were not unfounded. Head injuries can have unpredictable consequences, and the aftermath of such an event was still fresh. Upon reaching Colorado Springs, Craig took the step of renting a car. This vehicle was meant to facilitate his business appointments in the area. On the evening of August 30th, at precisely 9 p.m., Craig made a phone call to Christine. He was calling from his hotel, updating her on his whereabouts and probably assuaging her concerns. Little did Christine know, this would be the last time she would hear from her husband for a very long time. Craig had plans to return home the very next day. However, that day came and went without any sign of him. In a concerning turn of events, his credit cards were later found at a market in El Paso, Texas. This location was a staggering 675 miles south of Colorado Springs, raising numerous questions about how and why they ended up there. The mystery deepened 2 weeks later when Craig's rented car was discovered abandoned just across the U.S. border in Juarez, Mexico. The vehicle showed no indications of any foul play. With Craig's unexplained absence stretching on, Christine felt a growing sense of urgency and took matters into her own hands. Determined to uncover any clues about her husband's whereabouts, she embarked on a personal investigation. Her first stop was Colorado Springs, the last known location where Craig was confirmed to be. On September 14th, she arrived in the city and made her way to the hotel where Craig had stayed. The staff provided her with a concerning piece of information. Craig had left behind his baggage and personal possessions in his room. The state of the room suggested no signs of a struggle or forced entry, leaving Christine even more perplexed. Piecing together the timeline, Christine surmised that something untoward might have happened to Craig on the very day he vanished. Given his recent concussion, she theorized that he could have been attacked and, due to the lingering effects of his injury, might have wandered off to an unknown location, disoriented and confused. As days turned into weeks, Christine's quest for answers gained traction in the media. Television stations in both Colorado and Wisconsin picked up the story, broadcasting details of Craig's mysterious disappearance and Christine's relentless search. The widespread coverage yielded an unexpected lead. A retired nurse from Montana, Judy Inman, came forward with a potential sighting. Judy recounted an encounter on a train journey from Montana to Washington, where she observed a disheveled-looking man who bore a striking resemblance to Craig. Notably, the man was overheard talking about fish tanks, a detail that resonated with Christine given Craig's profession. Judy's nursing background made her particularly observant, and she felt certain that the man had sustained a head injury, further aligning with Craig's recent concussion. Buoyed by this lead, Christine shifted her focus to Washington, the state where she and Craig had first met. For 6 exhaustive weeks, she retraced potential routes, visiting various locations along the train line that Judy and the unidentified man had traveled. The media's spotlight on Craig's disappearance began to yield more than just awareness. As news channels in Colorado and Wisconsin aired segments about the case, the public became deeply invested in the mystery. The coverage painted a vivid picture of Craig's last known movements, his physical appearance, and the unique details that might help identify him, such as his connection to the fish farming industry. One significant breakthrough came when Christine met with Judy to review photographs of different train stations along the route. Judy identified Wishram, Washington, near the Oregon border, as the station where the man she believed to be Craig had disembarked. This revelation was particularly intriguing as Craig had lived in a town called Washougal during the 1980s. It was conceivable that, in his potentially disoriented state, he might have confused Wishram with Washougal. In a bid to gather more information, Craig's son traveled to Wishram, placing missing persons posters and speaking to locals. Despite these efforts, no concrete evidence or sightings of Craig emerged from this location. Nearly 2 years had passed since Craig's mysterious disappearance, and just when hope seemed to be waning, an unexpected turn of events reignited the case. In July 1995, a television broadcast revisited unsolved mysteries, featuring Craig's story among them. In a twist that no one saw coming, Craig himself was among the viewers of this broadcast. At the time, Craig was residing in Key West, Florida. As he watched the segment about his own disappearance, he experienced a jolt of recognition. The man on the screen, the subject of so much speculation and search, was him. However, the memories of his past, his identity, and the events leading up to his disappearance remained shrouded in fog. Craig came forward with a harrowing account. He recalled being mugged in Colorado Springs around the time of his disappearance. The assault, he believed, resulted in amnesia, a condition further exacerbated by the concussion he had suffered just a month prior. The fragments of his memory were disjointed and hazy. He remembered waking up in a hospital, but not as Craig Williamson. Instead, he had a different identity: Ron. With no recollection of his past, Ron began a nomadic journey, wandering aimlessly across the United States. His travels eventually led him to Key West, where he settled into a new life, finding employment as a diver. Upon realizing his true identity, Craig reached out to Christine as well as his ex-wife. The news was bittersweet for Christine. While she was overjoyed to learn that Craig was alive, the man who returned to her was not the husband she remembered. Craig, or Ron, had no memories of their life together, their marriage, or even his own family. The couple decided to retrace their steps, hoping that familiar places might trigger Craig's memory. They traveled together to Colorado Springs, visiting locations that had been significant during the time of his disappearance. Despite their hopes, the journey did not yield the desired results. Craig's memories remained elusive, and the gaps in his past persisted. Faced with the reality of their changed circumstances, Christine and Craig made the difficult decision to divorce. While the romantic aspect of their relationship had altered, they chose to remain friends, cherishing the bond they once shared. In the aftermath of these events, Craig relocated to California, seeking solace among friends who supported him during this tumultuous period. Christine, on the other hand, chose a fresh start in Wyoming, looking to rebuild her life and find a sense of closure. While Christine and their close circle grappled with the emotional ramifications, investigators and the public began to dissect the details, leading to a plethora of theories. Central to Craig's narrative was the assertion that he had been mugged in Colorado Springs, leading to a severe bout of amnesia. This condition, he believed, was compounded by the concussion he had sustained a month prior to his disappearance. However, the medical community remains divided on the plausibility of such extensive memory loss resulting from a mugging and a concussion. Some investigators posited that Craig might have intentionally staged his own disappearance. Several factors fueled this suspicion. The discovery of Craig's credit cards in El Paso, Texas, conspicuously left in plain sight. The absence of any signs of foul play in his abandoned rental car in Juarez, Mexico. The financial pressures and responsibilities associated with their new fish farming business, which some speculated might have been overwhelming for Craig. Another prevailing theory was that Craig had met with foul play. Delving into Craig's personal and financial affairs, some investigators speculated that mounting debts might have driven him to orchestrate his disappearance. This theory suggests that Craig sought to escape financial obligations and the pressures of his new business venture. While each theory presents its own set of compelling arguments, the truth remains elusive. Craig's return, rather than providing closure, only deepened the mystery, leaving more questions than answers in its wake.